Just playing with a couple buttons here because I want to record this, obviously for you. I also want to share a couple of videos. So I think we're good. I'm so glad that whoever you are, however you heard of this trip, that you're considering going with us. This is the third time that I'll be taking a team from CSU to somewhere around the world. But I've been doing that since 2002. So 20 years now of taking teams to South Africa, to Thailand, to Haiti, to Kenya. This is my first time to Guatemala, but excited. Those that we're going with have done it many times before, and just excited that you are considering it. So if you're part of CSU, if you're a student, if you're an online student, this is the first time we've offered it for our online students, and I'm thrilled that some of you are considering joining us. You can take this as a 3-credit class next semester. And so I'll talk you through that. But even if that's not the motivation, I know some of you are from other churches that are considering this, some people from my own home church. So just excited that you're thinking about this and praying about it. So my hope is to share a few things, a couple videos, and then some details about the trip. Everything we share obviously is being recorded, but I'll also send you these links and these videos. And my hope is that it just gives you enough to have that conversation, mostly with our Heavenly Father, and say, okay, here's the details. Is this a step you want me to take? And if so, we'd love to have you. If not, maybe it's a better option in the future. So we'll see about that. Let me start with just a quick intro to the 410 Bridge. This is the organization that we travel with, kind of our partners, travel agent, but so much more than that. The global ministry organization that is working in Kenya and working in Guatemala. I want to just give you a sense of how they operate and kind of their philosophy, and then we'll unpack a little bit more about our specific trip. So take a look at this.
A lot of people talk about changing the world. It sounds inspiring, uplifting, energizing. But is it possible? At the 410 Bridge, we believe it is possible, and it starts by changing the way people see the world, one community at a time. Here's how it all works. We start by finding a community in need, one with a desire to change, and with strong local leadership to help make that change happen. Then we assemble a leadership council and work with them to use their strengths to create a development plan. This plan isn't just a wish list. It's a blueprint for how the community can change its own future. A plan to help the community stand on its own and take pride in its success. Then the 410 Bridge connects this community with churches and organizations in the U.S. who will work together to change the future. Whether it's providing water, improving education and healthcare, teaching people how to start small businesses, or equipping local pastors, each step brings the right change at the right time. And through it all, the communities themselves are leading the way, finding problems and owning solutions. So in the end, the 410 Bridge isn't just about lending a helping hand. It's about bringing people together. It's about building relationships and changing the way people view the world. It's about Christ-centered, community-initiated development that creates a new future for the next generation. That's the power of working together. That's the power of building a bridge.
I just share that so that you can get a sense, right from the start of what kind of approach we're taking. And that's important. And this is an organization that I connected with right as soon as they were getting started and found a real kinship in just that philosophy of coming alongside what God is already doing there, and then seeing how we might be able to help that and how we might be able to learn and grow in the process as well. So what I'm going to send you is just this double-sided information guide, and I'll show it to you now. It's available on my website. If we were meeting in person, I'd hand you a hard copy of it, but it's pretty much just going to lay out the details of the trip, and I kind of structure it with a little bit of a Q&A. And so to keep some engagement here, I might just ask you to read some of these items as well. So hopefully you can see that screen all right. The first question is why? Why should we even go? And if, when we do this in person, I usually ask people to share, why would somebody go on a trip like that? And there are usually lots of good reasons, good motivations, but most of them have to do with something that we have that we want to share, something that we want to offer. We want to, help with a kids ministry. We want to see the churches there. We want to encourage the people. We want to share the gospel. And those are all great motivations. And I love how we can even look at really the first short-term missionary, the first person to kind of go out and bring the gospel and connect what God was doing in other places. The Apostle Paul, I think, tells us pretty clearly in Romans why he was going, and he gives us a good model for why we can go as well. So let me see, Rex, if you could read that, all right, would you mind reading Romans chapter 1, verses 11 and 12, right there, that first paragraph?
Sure, Paul. Paul says, I long to see you so that I may impart to you some spiritual gift to make you strong. That is, that you and I may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith.
I'd gone on a few trips before I really meditated on this verse, and I love what he says here, because verse 11 matches up almost exactly with what so many people share is their motivation for going. I want to impart to you something to make you strong. I want to help in a place that might be experiencing poverty, or a place that maybe just experienced a natural disaster, or a place that, is developing. I want to help. I want to offer something to make you strong. And that motivation is coming from us to the people that we love. And that is valid. But too often we stop at verse 11, and I'm so glad that Paul didn't. I'm so glad that he continues on, and in verse 12, I hope you notice, he flips around the direction. He says, oh, wait a second. It's not just about me giving something to you. It's about you and I being mutually encouraged by each other's faith. And that's a shift that may be subtle, but that we, especially in the West, need to embrace. Paul is writing to the people in Rome. He's never even been there. But if you read that first paragraph, especially verses 8 through 12, he's heard about their faith. He's celebrating what God is doing there. He knows that God is at work there. And even though he's never been and never met them personally, he knows that they are going to be a blessing to him. And it's not just going to be him being a blessing to them. And I always like to start there because it's a reminder that, yeah, God is already at work. I've never been to Guatemala. You may not have been to this particular community in Guatemala, and yet we have to go with the confidence that God's already at work there. Their faith, their hope, their love is growing, and we want to see that and experience that, because as much as we're going to offer something to bless them, we want to come being ready to receive a blessing from them as well. So that's why we go, to be mutually encouraged by each other's faith. Where are we going to go? Rancho Viejo in Guatemala. And when we're done, I'll send you this document. And if you flip to the second page, there's just a lot more detail about Rancho Viejo, population and how it got that unique name, what they love about their community, what's unique about their community, just some really neat glimpses, fast facts, those kinds of things. But it's a community, as you saw in the video, where the 410 Bridge is working, and they've identified leaders in that community, the people of God that are there, the people that have a vision for their community and want to move it forward. They've come alongside that leadership council and have said, hey, what's your vision? Where are you going? And is there anything we can do to help? And as that leadership council paves the way forward, people from outside that community, people like us, from churches, from schools, from ministries, can be a part of that through trips, through projects, through funding, through sponsorship. So that's where we'll be headed. If you've traveled with me in the past to Kenya, that's about a 16-hour flight. This one's about a 4-hour flight. So that's one of the reasons we're trying this one out. So a little quicker, here from the East Coast, maybe 4 hours in the air, and we'll be there and ready to move forward with the people of God right there. So that's where we're going. When? We're looking at it next spring. This, for those at CSU, this is our spring break. And so we've timed it specifically so that we can, hop out of classes and be done that Friday right before break starts. We'll travel on Friday and Saturday. hope to be in country and in place for churches on Sunday. There are 7 churches in the community that are connected with the work the 410 Bridge is doing there. And we'll hopefully be able to split up and experience several of those. And then we'll be part of that community from Monday through Friday before we head back. So it's that, that second full week of March of next year is when we're going. Now, I bet if I had handed this sheet out to you, that the first thing you would have looked for is this next question, and that's how much. And that's okay. I don't blame you. That's the first question that's on most people's minds, because like anything else, we need to weigh the cost. We need to count the cost. But before you let that be the deciding factor, I just want you to think through with me people in Scripture who God has asked them to do something, and they already had everything they needed to do what God was asking them to do. Hopefully you can tell it's a trick question, because that person has never come along. God doesn't ask us to do something that we already have all we need. There's no faith building in that. There's no trust in that. God is always asking people to do something that's beyond their ability. God, tells his disciples to feed the multitudes, and literally all they have is a Happy Meal. They have 5 loaves and 2 fish. And what is that among so many? And they're like, oh, do you want us to go get more food? As if they could possibly come up with enough. He doesn't want us to take care of it all ourselves. He wants us to offer what we do have. And then he multiplies that. And in the case of that story, multiplies it beyond what was even needed. There were leftovers. People are going home with to-go boxes. And so time and time again, God asks us to do something that's going to stretch our faith, force us to rely on him, and then give a faith story to tell so that our faith has grown and now we can encourage others. I can't promise you that that's going to happen in this situation. That's between you and God, if this is a step he wants you to take. But what I'm saying is don't let the money be the only thing. Oh, if I have that amount of money, I'll go. If I don't have that, I won't go. There's no real faith in that. And the thing that God wants to grow in our lives is our faith. So let's talk about what it's going to cost and what you will need to contribute. But remember, you don't need to have everything taken care of ahead of time. You just need to open your hands with what God has given you. That being said, let's talk about the finances. Please be sure you note that at this point, 6 months out, this is a tentative estimate. So by that, I just mean, this could change. Mostly this next item, the airfare. That's really the thing that could change. Right now, we're seeing flights as low as $500. At times, flights have been as much as $1,000. We just don't know. Now, the good thing is that we're back to kind of how things were prior to COVID, at least as airlines are concerned. If we are able to put down a $150 deposit, they will lock in the current price for us. So if we have 10 people, we can get a group rate. If those 10 people supply a $150 deposit, I'll pass that on to the airline and we'll lock in the current rate, which is going to be, typically, it's going to be a lot cheaper than what it would be if we wait till December, January, February. So that's a very good thing we have going for us. As soon as we decide on this and get our deposits, we can start looking for prices and get an early deposit at an early, hopefully low price. So I'm estimating $600. We'll wait and see. What we do, we will commit to is the in-country costs. And that's going to be $16.45 per person. And that's going to cover everything you need. I tell people if you literally didn't bring your wallet with you, you couldn't buy any food on the plane or, at the airport. But as soon as we're in country, all your meals are taken care of, your transportation, your lodging, everything that you're going to need. If you literally didn't bring any money, you'd be okay. And so the 410 Bridge will arrange all of that for us. We'll stay a little bit outside of the community in a guest house or a hotel. We'll travel on a team bus or van. We'll travel together as a team with our Guatemalan team leader and guide, and the expenses will be taken care of in this amount right here. So essentially, our final number ends up being $16.45 plus whatever the airfare is, which we're estimating at $600, brings us to $22.45 per person. So most people at this point, I usually go around and ask some of the people who've gone before to tell us a little bit about their experience, and several who've gone on trips for a long time have spoken to how God has provided, and they had no idea, who might want to support or help or be a part of it. And let me just tell you, it's not just going to be on you to come up with that amount of money. In our very first team meeting, we're going to go through a process where we analyze, okay, how can we invite other people into this? This is a significant moment in our spiritual journey. This is a significant way to be a part of what God is doing around the world. And there are people in your life right now who want to be a part of that, who want to be stakeholders in that, who want to invest in that. You just need to give them the opportunity. And so we'll talk through that process of how you can cast the vision. You'll be able to set up a web page where people can easily just click and make a donation. You'll be able to come up with a presentation that you can share personally, that you could share at your home church, and invite people into this process with you. Okay, let me come up for air. Any questions, anything so far that you want me to drill down on any further? Making sense to you, Rex?
Yes.
You got it?
Yes. If we have a church in another state, will we be flying with you or flying separately and meeting you in Rancho?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Rex is up in where? New Hampshire, Rex?
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. I always mix that up. I don't know why. I guess because they both, I don't know. Rhode Island, yes. And several of you online students, I'm not even sure where you're coming from. We'll figure that out along the way. You could get to decide that. The 410 Bridge has worked it out either way. We will probably fly out of New York City. So then you can decide. Obviously, that additional cost would be on you, but if you want to fly from wherever you are and meet us at JFK, great. Depending on what flights we get, we might have a layover in Miami, before we fly further on. And you might want to say, okay, let me get my flight to go right to my. So we'll figure that out along the way. You're welcome to drive to Clark Summit. You're welcome to drive to New York City. So yeah, we'll have to figure some of that out. It's not uncommon for the 410 Bridge to take teams from all over the place. When you fill out your application, you will kind of list, hey, here are some airports near me, and they'll look for the best options. So for instance, 2 years ago, we had 3 people joining us from Michigan. We drove to New York. They flew from Grand Rapids to New York. We met them in the airport terminal, and then we all hopped on the same plane together. At other times, we've had people from Maryland drive to Clark Summit and then drive to New York with us. So however you want to work it out, we can be flexible with that.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. I should probably just add it to the sheet because everybody always asks, okay, so what are we going to do? I kind of breezed past that, we'll spend the rest of the week in Guatemala. Most of the people who ask that are coming from a mindset of, yeah, we're going to go and save the day. And so there's a need, and we're going to go meet that need. We're going to go build a school. We're going to go paint something, dig a trench, build the water tower. Could be a number of things. We don't know what we're going to do because we're not the ones that are in charge. Our partners on the ground in Guatemala are in charge. There are some things that we can help with. They just don't know what those are 6 months before we get there. But as it gets closer, they're going to say, okay, you know what? We are ready to move into the next phase of our water project, or we do want to do some programming to raise the excitement at our schools or at our churches. So I can tell you this, there's usually some physical project that we're going to be a part of that takes people of all skill sets. I am not very good with physical projects and manual labor, but there's always been something that I can do, even if it's just pushing the wheelbarrow. So no matter what your skill set, we've dug trenches, we've laid foundation for buildings before, we've done painting. We've also done a lot of relational things in the schools, teaching Bible classes, doing a Bible club kind of thing for elementary or middle school or even high school. We've done things with the women in the community, things with the men, things for couples. In this case, taking predominantly students, they're probably going to want to connect us with some high school or elementary age students, just to show the excitement that comes with being a part of the churches in the community, in the schools. So there will be some relational elements, there'll be some physical labor. Essentially, we're going to do what the leaders in the community are asking. And we're going to try to strengthen the core relationships that are going to stay in that community, relationships in the home, in the church, and in the school. If you think about any community, including your own, those are some core things that if those are strong, that community is going to be strong. And so if we can strengthen, if we can bring excitement and energy into those places, it's gonna have a ripple effect. So I know that's vague, but that's because we're not in charge. But as we figure that out, we'll let you know that. And we as a team may even be able to lean into some of that, depending on the skills, the interests, the ability that we have. All right, let me keep moving and just show you the timeline. Here we are at the beginning of October. By the end of October, by about 2/3 through the month, October 22nd, I'd like us to make some decisions and to decide, okay, I'm in, here's my application, here's my deposit. $150, again, does two things for us. One, it puts some skin in the game. It lets me know that you're probably not going to back out after this, because that's a non-refundable deposit, not to be selfish with it, but because we're going to pass that right along to the airlines to lock in the best rates. So $150 deposit, and then that application. I'm going to send you a link when we get off this call, and you'll see where you can go to apply. That's the end of this month. And then once a month, November, December, January, February, we're going to gather our team together. This will be the first time that we're inviting people from all over the place, and I'm not expecting you to make 4 trips to Clark Summit. We will meet in person, those of us that are here on campus and here in the community, and then we will either record some of those sessions, invite you into them on a virtual, real time. I'll figure out how to keep you in the know, so that you can get the information. We read a book together, we watch some videos together, we discuss spiritual preparation, cultural preparation, physical preparation, and then we do some team building together as well. So we'll figure out how to do that with a diverse group like this, but just know that there are going to be some checkpoints along the way, places where you'll get information, you'll probably get some homework to work on, you'll have a chance to ask questions, and we'll have, all along the way, a whole process. Built into that process, as you can see, is the fundraising as well. And so when we meet in November, we'll go over things like passports and immunizations and fundraising so that you can get that process started in November. Think Thanksgiving, think Giving Tuesday, think the season, of the holidays, and say, hey, if I'm on your Christmas list, here's what I'd really like. Help me be a part of what God is doing in Guatemala. And you'll be able to take advantage of just the natural connections and the natural generosity of this time of year, to invite people in to say, hey, don't just buy some trinkets that are gonna, collect dust and then fill a landfill. Let's invest in what God is doing around the world. And so it comes at a good time. You can see just some of the ideas and some of the benchmarks that we've got listed of, how you could imagine raising those funds between November and January. All right, that's what it looks like moving forward. And I always like to just say, okay, well, now what? What are the next steps you need to take right now? Learn some more. There are some links here to the 410 Bridge, to my own website that has some more videos and details. Learn some more about it. Let's keep talking. My email is there. My phone number is there. Learn, pray, ask God if this is a step that He wants you to take, and then decide. You've got, almost about 3 weeks now till that October 22nd deadline, where we are going to try to gather our team together. Like I said, if we get 10 of us, we can get some group rates, and then we'll move forward. So this is a great next couple of weeks to just be thinking, praying, asking your questions. Like I said, the back of this sheet just has more information about the specific community we'll be going to. All my information is there. I want to show you one more video, and then I'll take any questions that might have come up along the way. This one specifically about the trips.
I feel like the president with this teleprompter. Hey, team.
And of course,
Yes.
we got to
Hi,
watch it.
team. I'm Sunny, delighted
watch a
to
little
share our
ad
dazzling
first.
new.
All right, just one video. I have plenty that I love to share. So, all right. Rex, do you have any questions? Is there anything else we should drill down on some more?
Yeah, again, a couple questions from the perspective of people joining you from other churches.
Okay.
Because this is primarily you leading a group of CSU students, a couple questions related to that. One,
Yeah.
Is there a maximum number that you would allow to come from a church?
Yeah, that's a great question. Not necessarily from any particular church, or those of you that are joining us from beyond. More than 20 total participants starts to get a little difficult, because once we get, and it's just purely for logistics, if we get over 20, then we can't fit on one bus. That's not the end of the world. It just makes it challenging. I've only had it happen once. We had 21, and we just squeezed on that one bus. So that, and it's not a big deal, but with more buses come more expenses, comes another, Guatemalan leader kind of hosting things over there. So a total of 20, that's kind of where we would cap it. You and I'll have to be in touch because, I'm primarily doing this for the CSU students, but I'm just as excited about others joining us. It doesn't necessarily mean that, you have to wait until I'm filled up with CSU students. I'm not concerned yet that it's going to get to that point. Just to give you some perspective, the last 2 years, we've had less than 15. We've had 12, we've had 13, and a lot of those were my own family, my own invitations. We had, at our live information meeting, we had about 20, and just in my 20 years of experience, funnels don't get bigger, they get smaller, and so 20 people are interested, 12 might apply, and 10 might end up going, or even fewer. So 20 would be our max number. I would think in your case, or others that are considering it, don't let that stop you. We'll just talk through those details along the way.
Okay, thanks. One other question related to that.
Yeah.
How do you see the dynamic of church leaders interacting with the students and you and what you're trying to accomplish with this trip?
Yeah, I would love for both interactions to occur. So every year I have brought people outside of CSU, some of them being the parents of some of the kids, some of them being previous team leaders that have gone with me before. And it's been really neat for those people to spend some time with some Christian kids that in many cases are pursuing ministry and watching them thrive. It's been really encouraging for their faith. We don't often get to see, the positive side of Generation Z. We deal with some of their challenges, and but to see these guys has been very encouraging. And I'd love for you guys to I think you would be inspired by that. I also want them to interact with some adults other than myself, to interact with some, real people, either, in full-time ministry or pursuing God in other ways, just as an adult, and just helping them get a sense of what the next step of my life could look like, and how I could move forward, and just have some other people speaking into their lives in a season like this, in a moment like this. So I'm really excited about that. I plan on pretty much doing everything together. Like there might be a few things that, okay, those of you from CSU, since you're taking this for credit, here's some things I need you to pay attention to, some homework assignments. But for the most part, we're going to integrate the whole team. We're not going to have the CSU guys and the other guys, and you guys sit here and you guys sit over there. No, I would want it to really be integrated, to see how God brings those relationships and those dynamics together, and to work together as one to kind of serve and be part of what God's doing there in Guatemala.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm going to stop. First, I'll stop sharing the screen, and then I will probably just, it looks like I can put a bow on this recording altogether. Rex, you can stay on the line, and then if you and I want to talk some more, we can. But those of you that are considering it, I hope this video has been helpful. I hope that we'll interact some more over email or over the phone, and we'll go from there and see how God leads us. So thank you. Bear with me now for just a second, Rex, as I try to end this recording. Recording and transcript. Stop recording. Stop.